You can be a great seller. You can be a great manager. You can even be a great owner, but it's hard to be all three. Sometimes you have to be. We're going to talk about that next. Chris Harper, next on Purpose Under Pressure. Well, welcome back. My name is Bryan, and this is Purpose Under Pressure. It's a podcast about developing sales and leadership success on purpose and under pressure. It's brought to you by the professional sales and leadership training team at Sandler by the Ruby Group. You'll find them in Akron and in Columbus, Ohio. They're in Jacksonville, Florida. They're in Capital Region, New York. They serve companies and businesses and organizations across this country. They do their work on purpose, and that's really important. It's important to know what you're trying to accomplish, what you want your customers to understand, how you want to be represented, and they're going to help you do that exact thing. They're going to build your relationships that way. You want it done on purpose, reflective of you. That's the way they do it. That's why they're partners in this show. You can connect with the Ruby Group online at therubygroup.sandler.com. The Ruby Group, master the pressure, lead with purpose, and deliver results. So let's get cooking. We're going to talk a little bit about ownership today, and we're going to talk about growing into your opportunities, and we're going to talk about the pressures that come with that. We're going to do that with Vice President at MicroPulse Technologies. They're in Birmingham, Alabama. Welcome, Chris Harper, to Purpose Under Pressure.
Hey, Bryan, thanks for having me.
Chris, it's really great to see you. I'm glad you're here on the show, and I'm looking forward to talking with you more. I always like to know about other organizations and companies and businesses. And so tell me a little bit about MicroPulse Technologies. Tell me about you. What's great? What are you trying to accomplish, and what's going well for you guys?
Okay. MicroPulse, as you mentioned, Birmingham, Alabama-based company. We kind of fall into two spaces, one being VAR, value-added reseller, and the other one being MSP. Kind of interesting because the MSP part is a smaller, newer part of our business, but it's what a lot of people think of us as, just knowing the IT industry. So that's kind of us in a nutshell. We're a privately held company. A lot of our growth, or all of our growth to date, has been organic. I started out here. We started the company with 3 people. We were all partners in the company, and so I started on the sales and marketing side. So I was selling the projects and the work and the technologies, and our other 2 guys are going out and delivering it. And then as we've grown, I've kind of backed out of that to where I'm getting involved in other aspects of the business, not just sales. I don't really do much direct sales anymore. I'm kind of more trying to manage and lead the team and come up with policies, procedures. Had a great last few years. Looked up this morning, our CAGR, our compounded annual growth rate over the last 4 years has been about 21%. Last year was 35%. So to me, for that to be organic, I'm really, really happy with that. So we've got a good stretch going, and we're doing a lot of reinvestment right now as we get ready to, make the transition that we've kind of talked about.
So IT means a lot of things to a lot of people. Do you have, I know Sandler a lot of times talks about the elevator pitch and who you are and things of that sort. Is there an easy way to explain to me what types of businesses use your services and for what purpose?
Sure. Yeah. So our traditional business on the VAR side, which is what we've kind of built our reputation on, is typically larger companies. Our average client size is about 700 users on the network, and we tend to work more with their IT staff, not be their IT staff. So we're helping them with projects and buying technologies that they need. On the MSP side, it can be a little bit different. Sometimes we will do a managed service for those larger companies if they want to offload a piece of that. But then a lot of times that ends up being smaller organizations that don't have an IT staff, and they want us to do it all for them. So.
Okay. So you're helping them. IT and me, we don't get along. And it's funny because I'm in marketing and everyone thinks, well, you must know IT. And I've joked before that you wouldn't let your IT person do your marketing.
Right. Yeah.
You don't want your marketing guy doing your IT.
Exactly.
It's the same idea. So let's talk a little bit about MicroPulse. I'm interested in the growth. I love the fact I've been selling for 30 some odd years. I've seen the best salespeople get taken off the streets and put into different roles, and that always doesn't go well. And you mentioned that you've gone through that. So tell me a little bit about the transition and the growth and some of the challenges that you guys are kind of overcoming.
Yeah, well, I mean, we would never do anything like that,
Yeah.
so right.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
yeah, we kind of joke that that's what we did against everybody's better advice. And I guess being an owner and being a
Everyone
small
does it.
company, it's limited. Yeah, right. We
Everyone
kind of
does it. Everyone says, "Hey, you're a great seller and you're doing great. You're next." And they
hmm
put you in a leadership behind a desk and all of a sudden no one's selling anything.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I don't like to feel like I have an ego, but at one point the thought did cross my mind of what if I just keep selling because I love doing this and we
Keep
bring in
selling.
somebody else to, handle all this stuff. But I would say my ego got in the way of that a little bit, but also one of my big motivators is that I want, and I feel like I've been able to do this definitely to a large extent, but I want a company with my fingerprints on it. There's a certain way that I want to treat people. Clients and employees, and so that's been a big driver for me. So yeah, so things have been going well. I started out selling. We basically started at kind of ground zero. I mean, we had some reputation in the industry, and some people knew who we were. We grew, we added folks. We basically tried to kind of add things that our clients were asking for. And so we kind of continued to, grow slowly and methodically over the years, and then started bringing on additional people for sales, inside sales, outside sales. And then that was where things got a little bit rocky for me personally because I didn't have any formal training. I was trying to sell and kind of quasi play sales manager.
Hmm.
And I felt like I had some really good training early on and some things that like made sales kind of maybe come a little bit more natural to me. Or maybe it was just that it had been ingrained in me for a while. And so I'm not a very patient person. I had limited patience in some of those early days with new people and just all
Yeah.
the things as a manager that you don't want to do, trying to
Yeah.
grow up other people on your team. So,
Yeah. Did you have trouble with as you moved from selling into managing and moving forward? Did you have trouble giving up responsibilities, and did you have trouble delegating? I know that I have in my time. I just no one could do it as well as I could, and it would
right.
take me longer to tell someone else how to do it. I could just do it myself. But
Mhm.
man, that caused me so many troubles. Did you have trouble with that?
For sure, for sure. Yeah, and I still do from time to time. I mean, it kind of never seems to go away, but I just had to realize, and this is not like an epiphany of my own. It's all what all the smart people tell you is you've got to let go. Like you cannot hold on and do everything yourself, or the company's just not going to grow and scale like you want. So yeah, I had trouble early on. I still have trouble now. I have less trouble now than I used to. I've read some books and done some, kind of podcasts and reading and talking to
Hmm.
friends that have been there
Hmm.
and done that, and that's helped out a lot. So,
Yeah. What's the number one thing that's helped you overcome some of those issues going from selling to managing and on from there?
probably honestly just trying to dive in and immerse myself in what makes a good leader and a good manager. And that's been books. That's
Mm,
been,
just
you know,
learning it.
training like Sandler. Yeah, we're in a peer group that's kind of like a Vistage type group called Evolve. That's been really, really helpful. So just listen to other people talk. I mean, I'm definitely seeking out a ton of advice. I've got friends that are either in a similar position or have been, or even people that aren't friends, but people I respect. And I'll sit down with them from time to time because this does not like, to me, managing and leading does not come innately to me. And I don't know, may to some people, but not to me. So I have to work really hard at improving myself and not doing things that are going to be a detriment to our business and to the people that I work with.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think it's helpful, don't you think, Chris, that you're just able to bring that up in the first place and say, to get past your ego, to hang that thing on the door and say, look,
hmm
I'm not wired this way.
hmm
And I need to learn this. And sometimes I think sellers, we like to be successful. We like to pat
hmm
ourselves on the back a little bit and show how well we are doing. And it's not
hmm
always easy to say, hey, I don't quite know what I'm doing here. I'm a little bit out of my element. Have you found some opportunities where let's say the big sale is on the way? You got to close this sale because it's for whatever reason.
hmm
Managers always have a reason that
Right.
we have to close this sale now.
hmm
It's on the line. It's ready to go. You've got a relationship, and yet you're not the seller anymore. It's
hmm
someone else's responsibility. Do you have a tendency to jump in and try to take over, or have you gotten better at letting someone go, or is it more of a team approach? What's the best way to
Yeah.
do that? Because you've
Uh,
got a lot of skills, right, Chris? You've got a lot to
mhm,
bring to the table. You can't just stay
mhm.
behind the desk all the time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's a team approach, but what I've tried to learn and throttle myself with is don't get involved unless I really feel like I'm needed or I'm asked.
Mm,
Because I used to want to jump in. I would go, oh, this isn't going the way I want it to, or I don't want to take a chance that we're going to lose this deal. But I have learned, I mean, being a small business and being an owner, it's hard sometimes to watch a loss coming. But you also learn from those. So it can be really, really tough. I mean, it's one of the hardest things to do, but sometimes I can see something I don't think's going very well. And I'm like, we all need to learn from this, and whoever's running this deal or working this deal, if it goes bad, they need to learn.
mm.
So I
Wow.
will get involved when I think it's really critical or when I'm asked, if it's a really big deal or if it's a sensitive situation. To me, reputation is one of the biggest things. It's not about the winning or losing the deal, but I mean, Birmingham's a small community and we mostly work in our backyard, and I'm mostly concerned about not, saying or doing something silly as a company where people don't respect us. So that's
Hmm.
really more important to me than winning a deal. So
Yeah, it's so important that the people that you have with you are representing the way you would represent. It's almost like you have to kind of push yourself through everybody. I'm interested when you're building a team of sellers.
hmm
Are you seeking a lot of mini me's, people who could do it the way you always could do it? And if someone has different traits, some sellers are introverts, some
yeah.
sellers are extroverts, they all have different ideas. How do you find the right team to complement you and to grow the company?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say early on, because I had no experience and no frame of reference, that yes, I tried to find a bunch of mini me's.
Mm,
And the biggest problem with that is me and the rest of my team and the people around me were trying to hold people to a bar that I was setting. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I mean, I was an owner in the company. Like, I had a lot of skin in the game and a lot on the line. And I had a lot of sales training and a lot of experience. So to try to hold people to that kind of a bar, just it didn't make sense. Especially one that I'd set in my own mind, because it's like I'm gonna obviously put it up a little bit higher because it's me. um so yeah, just trying to find a team that complements the skills of our people and understanding what clients need from a salesperson and what we need, um, versus sometimes like maybe even what Chris Harper thinks we need, is what I've tried to focus on. Because like you said, we do have different people with different talents, different skill sets. Some we're in a technical industry, so some are more technical, some are more relationship based, some are direct, some are indirect. And I
mm.
think there's pros and cons to all of those different things. We just try to kind of look at the whole package of the what the person's bringing to the table, and go, how is that going to fit in? And sometimes it's a little bit experimental, especially with us being new and not having, a lot of data points. Is, well, let's kind of try this out and see how it works. We also do a lot of disc profiling, and not to put in a plug for Sandler, but going through some of the Sandler training again, and listening to some of the tenets and things that, I used to get real hung up on. Oh, my people need to understand the technology really well. They need to be able to articulate it, especially when they're dealing with, an IT director or a CIO or a network administrator in a larger company. But I've learned, and actually some of this has been through the people that I work with teaching me, like not even on purpose, just kind of, by proxy, that like you can just be a good relationship person and you can listen well and you can give, people what they want without knowing the technology intimately.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I
yeah.
found that too. Sometimes I think it's Sandler, they talk about the dummy curve.
Yeah.
Like the less you think you know, the better off you are because you're asking
hmm
questions, you're learning from the customer who's who we need to know how to help in the first place. It's not about what we know
Right.
as sellers. It's how can we help them? And so we have to listen and we have
hmm
to pretend or at least really know that we just don't know everything. And it's tough.
Yeah.
Again, going back to the ego part of it. So you just mentioned a little bit about ownership as well, and you are an owner there and going into ownership and things. Can you tell me a little bit about that process of a seller going into management and then becoming an owner and some of those challenges? But I'm also interested in the differences in those roles because I know a
hmm
lot of sellers take ownership, but they're not the owner. A lot of
Yeah.
managers want to be the owner of their people. They're not the owner. The buck stops
hmm
somewhere,
Yeah.
right? Can you talk to me a little bit about that whole process? That's got to be tough.
Everyone in the organization needs to know how to sell. Sales is the strength of any company. Whether or not you're in marketing, operations, or even finance, everyone has a strong shared accountability towards driving top-line revenue. Whether or not you're client-facing or talking over the phone, you're able to build a stronger level of rapport with the clients. Everyone in the organization shares that responsibility to know how to sell.
Talk to me a little bit about that whole process. It's got to be tough.
Yeah, it has been. That's been one of the biggest challenges. I've been an owner since day one.
Oh, okay.
So, that helped a little bit. And I had a little bit of ownership where I was prior to this, but it's definitely been, in the early days, it was probably easy because we were so busy and we were so focused with kind of limited people and limited roles. It was basically sell, deliver, that was kind of it. You didn't have to worry about HR policies and procedures and operational best practices and things like that. So it was a little bit easier. But I've always kind of joked as time has gone on that being a seller and being client facing and seeing the P&L sometimes is a bit of a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Because as a seller, I believe that, our job is to go out there and find business, but also our sellers are farmers as well, not just hunters. And so they've got to be able to, we're relationship based. They've got to be able to nurture that relationship, and somebody's got to be the client advocate. And if I'm sitting there looking at P&L numbers and a client's leaning on me to, give away something that I don't think we should give away, then I may make a bad decision, thinking it's best for the company, but it really ends up being a kind of a short-term decision because I may lose a client or damage a relationship or damage our reputation or something to that effect. So that's been a interesting dynamic. I've learned to kind of work my head out of that a little bit and realize that if I'm playing salesperson, that's my role. Is to be the client advocate and to, do right by them, even if it's at our own company's detriment sometimes. So,
what have you found over time that's helped you in that to make those right decisions in the line of battle, at the line of fire, you got to make the right decision. Salespeople, path of least resistance, right? Always speaking for the client, the client's always right, whatever it takes to get the deal done, those kinds of things. Those aren't bad. It's just the way we're made.
Yeah.
What kinds of issues have you seen and how have you been able to kind of overcome that obsession towards making the other guy happy?
Well, it's still a running joke that I'll give away the farm, a lot of times.
Okay.
So yeah, I've still got that part in me, but what has helped with that? That's a good question. I'd have to think about for a minute.
Yeah, take your time.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah,
it's important because I think too often we just assume, just keep on running, it'll all work out. But at an ownership level, you got to be looking 3, 5, 7 years down the line. You got to be looking at relationships. It's bigger than the moment.
Yeah. I think probably the biggest thing has been observing other salespeople, particularly the ones that work for us, and seeing how they treat the customer and going, you know what, when I'm in that mode, I need to treat the customer the same way. So that's probably been the biggest thing that's helped me to kind of stay in the right frame of mind. I mean, one of the biggest challenges is switching gears and knowing when to play which role. I would say one of the hardest day-to-day things for me, I call it context switching, but I might be doing HR for a minute, and then I got to play salesperson for a minute, and then I got to play owner for a minute, and I got to play manager for a minute. And I might be looking at some operational things. So sometimes switching gears, and how I need to, the person I need to be in that moment can be tricky. So.
Do you have core values and things of that sort at MicroPulse that you're able to kind of lean on?
We do. Yeah. We have our mission, vision, value statement. Yeah. And so that helps.
It does.
For sure.
It does. So what are the hurdles that you think are coming up as you continue to grow, as you continue to move forward? What are the hurdles on the horizon that are going to kind of come along and try to knock you down, either in your role as a seller, your role as a manager, your role as a owner, HR? You probably take the garbage out, right?
Yep, for sure. Yep.
What's coming on the other side is going to knock you down a little bit?
There's a couple things. There's a financial aspect to it. I want to keep the company privately held, and so I feel like we've gotten ourselves in a good position in our personal finances. But I want to be cognizant. I've still got kids to send to college, and we waited, till later in life to have kids, which probably helped us get where we are. But now I've got to make sure that I don't blow it, in the
Oh
in the
man,
final stages.
I know
Um,
that.
so there's that pressure for sure. Part of it too is I feel like my business partner and I have very different skill sets and personalities, and we complement each other well. And so figuring out how to fill his skill set when he moves on, is another thing. So there are a lot of things that he's really good at that I'm not. Some of them I have zero interest in doing. So it's, kind of do I want to learn it and do something I'm not interested in, or do I want to hire in for, or promote up or whatever? So kind of finding future partners, leaders, filling some of those gaps of skill sets, and then deciding, what direction we want to take the company. Is it going to be anything slightly different from what we're doing now, or is it going to be kind of along the same lines? So um, there's a lot to think about, and I'm trying to kind of skill myself up and mentally prepare myself, kind of make a little bit of a game plan, kind of a playbook. So the term I was looking
Yeah.
for. Over time, I'll think of something random and go, "Oh, I like this idea. I'm going to jot it down, and then I'll run with it later." I get a lot of, obviously my own ideas, but then I get a lot of ideas of people throw at you. "Oh, you should do this, and you should do that, and you guys are good at this, and you need to get better at that." Trying to like throttle those thoughts and know like when I need to lean in on them and when not to has been another thing. I don't want to, stay up and give myself a sleepless night over something I don't need to worry about for 4 years. And then conversely, I don't want to defer something that I need to worry about in 4 or 5 years that I need to, focus on now. So,
And how do you make those decisions? And it's with the hurdles that you're talking about, overcoming the weaknesses that you might have, the holes that you might have to fill, and these ideas of what's important now. What drives you to understand this has to be done this way, and here's how I'm going to do it?
yeah. Well, luckily, my business partner is really good about talking to me about these things. So we have a lot of dialogue about, where the gaps are going to be, what we need to do to fill those gaps. So talking with him helps a lot.
Okay.
Having other friends that kind of are in similar situations and talking to them helps a lot too. And then me just trying to kind of use some of my own, smarts and not. I've gotten big in the last few years of trying to manage stress a little bit better, especially since COVID. For some reason, that was, well, there's a good reason it was an eye opener, but that
Oh
was kind
boy,
of an eye
yeah,
opener.
yeah.
So just trying to kind of balance out like um, what's important, what's not important. Some of the things that I may simmer or fester on, I start thinking about it and I go, that's really not that important. It could wait. And there's no point in stressing myself out over it right now. So
Good.
making goals, that seems to
Yeah.
help provide clarity too.
There's people out there that are listening or watching right now that are in the sales role, and they're moving into sales leadership, and they want to be an owner, to have their fingerprint on the organization. And I think that's a perfect transition, a perfect path for people to want to achieve, if they want to achieve it. You've been through it. What kind of advice might you give, that you've seen, that you've understood, that they should know looking back? Make sure you're thinking like this, so that you can be that effectual owner in the
Hmm.
future.
Yeah, interesting question. Um, well, I mean, first and foremost, I would say don't forget to take care of yourself mentally and physically because it can be tough.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you're not doing things like, I mean, faith has been huge for me. Kind of refound that a few years ago. And so having something like that to lean into, something that's bigger than me, has been big. And then just, things like diet and exercise and not letting myself go. But as far as like actually the practical parts of the job, I would say just I've always operated with like I want to help the company, not necessarily I want to help myself. And I think that's actually I wasn't doing it necessarily to get an ownership role, but I think that's what led me to that. So I would say being selfless if you're trying to get that spot and you're not there yet. is a big thing, and just showing the company that you're here to help in whatever capacity they need you. Like you said, taking out the trash. You might be the sales guy, but you can refill the water in the coffee pot and take out the trash if it needs to be. If you're making that transition, I think that learning to compartmentalize is a good skill to have. Sometimes I might have something that frustrates me on the sales side, and I can't carry that over to a conversation with a coworker or vice versa. So having a little bit of mental discipline. Sometimes I actually get up and step away from my desk or from what's going on for a minute to kind of reset. So I think just probably being in the moment, thinking about where you are, and being intentional with what role you're supposed to be in, and focusing on that, and not letting outside noises and distractions bleed in. And then kind of cliched, but being a student or learner of the game. I mean, at first I was just trying to wing it and made a lot of mistakes. I want to call some of those people back and go, God, I'm sorry for what kind of person I was to work with. So I think just trying to be kind of a constant learner, and focus on what it means to be an owner, what it means to be a manager, what it means to be a leader is huge. You just can't get by without that unless you've got that innate ability. So
Yeah. I even think if a seller doesn't want to become an owner someday, and many don't, and I think that's completely fine. But I think even if a seller doesn't want to do that, they still need to operate under those ideas. It might cost them a sale. Sometimes the best sale you ever make is the one you said no to.
Yeah.
Right. Because you knew it wasn't good for the company. You would have had a nice fat commission off of it, but you didn't saddle your company with this problem client or a non-fit organization. So I agree. I think that if a seller is selling in the right way, they're selling to help the organization grow. Their growth will go along with it.
Right.
But they can't do it the other way. At least that's the way I've always thought about it. Chris, how do people get in touch with you if they want to talk about anything we've talked about here today, anything that you do there at MicroPulse Technologies, and they want to learn more about that?
Yeah, sure. So they can call our office, 205-912-8800, 8800. My email address is chris.harper, kind of a long one, chris.harper at micropulsetech.com, which is micropulsetech.com. So no funky spellings there. And then, of course, our website's just micropulsetech.com. So.
Excellent. Chris, last question. Are you a better owner or are you a better seller?
Ooh, you had to do that.
Yes, I did.
I'm going to put it 50-50 right now. I would say I'm losing my sales skills pretty fast. Sandler proves that to me on a regular basis. So yeah, maybe I'm 51% better owner.
Yeah, you're growing and you're in the right spot, and you can hire other people to do the other things. So That's tremendous. I appreciate your taking the time, and thanks for sharing that. I know you're going to be helpful. You're helpful to me. I've been through that. I've been through the seller and to the manager, which I was terrible at, and I'm an owner now, and the skills that you need are similar, but extremely different. And so I appreciate this conversation too. That's Vice President at MicroPulse Technologies, Chris Harper. Chris, thank you for joining us today on Purpose Under Pressure. Folks, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you're back, thank you for returning. Hope you told a friend. I hope you're subscribed. We do this show multiple times a week. And so if you do subscribe, you won't miss an episode of Purpose Under Pressure. You'll find all past episodes at bryanmediastrategies.com/podcast. And you'll also find them wherever you stream your favorite shows. The show is brought to you by the Ruby Group. Master the pressure, lead with purpose, deliver results. Until next time, no matter how high the pressure gets, stay on purpose.